Okay. Hello, y'all. I'm putting together this little recording real quick just to show a tiny bit more of the process of just the final putting together stages before this piece gets put into production, essentially. So I did want to say and note really quick that a little bit of adjusting happened with the letters because I was looking at this after I did my last live stream and I'm like, yo, these letters are kind of like I don't like how the letters look. So we're just going to compare real quick. Okay, this is what they used to look like. And then I looked at it and I'm like, I think the spacing needs to be a little bit better here. So I did a little bit extra editing in my iPad to where now it looks like this. And so everything is more spaced out, uniform. It's breathing a little bit better. It's not all cramped up looking. So I'm going to actually get rid of that old guy. Okay, so basically what I'm doing here is, I'm going to put the author's name on the bottom here of this piece that I created, but there's actually a little bit more technical stuff that goes into it than just, picking a typeface and writing his name in there. So what I mean by that is basically we need to kind of understand that when we are creating a piece, we need to keep in mind the final output of where it's going. So by that, I mean, this thing that I have illustrated right here, is this going to go printed out on a banner and it's going to get hung up on the side of a building somewhere where you drive by it and you see it? Or is this going to go on a broadcast and you view it on a screen, which is that's what's happening with this one, is option B. But anyway, the reason why you need to know where it's going is because you have to set the file up a certain way before you even really begin. You need to as a designer, you need to know these things. There's different color modes that you need to take into account. I mean, RGB versus CMYK, or are we working in pixels? Are we working with vector? And there's just all kinds of different little things like that. I know for non-technical people, I just basically spoke gibberish, but it matters because, if this thing is getting printed, then we're using inks. And if it's not getting printed and it's being used in the digital space, we're dealing with a totally different color mode here, RGB color mode. And we're dealing with pixels, which are basically a bunch of teeny little squares put together to build up the image. You can't really tell if it's done right, but that's why there are different, within the design world, there are different roles and different designers kind of to help each other out in creating these final pieces. Sorry, I'm messing with my hair really quick, tickling me. So basically, I in my professional job that I do, I am a production artist. I'm also a graphic designer. My role that I do at work, I do both. But there is a difference between the two roles. So basically, a graphic designer is somebody who conceptualizes and creates a piece. And then a production artist is one who fixes the files and makes sure that that piece is good before it goes out the door into whatever sphere it's supposed to be intended for. Mostly, I do production designing for my job. I do sometimes create pieces at my job, but for the most part, I'm fixing other designers' files. And so, I know that there are some people who think, oh, well, a graphic designer, shouldn't that be part of something that they do? Like they kind of set up the file and it's already set up correctly. And you would think that, but they're in the creative world. I mean, I'm sure somebody who is a creative and artistic person. A lot of creative and artistic people are messy and they're just busy creating things and they're slapping things together and it looks super good. But behind it is a big mess of there's no organization. And that matters, especially with where these things are going by the time it's all said and done. And so it also, you have to take into account all of the technical aspects of it. So the you can tell when there's a person who designed something, but yet they didn't have the technical know-how of how to complete and produce that piece of work. So for example, if you've ever seen somebody's business card, like we'll pretend this is a business card, and you have their little logo right here, and then it's printed out with their name and their information. And you're looking at it and you're like, wow, gee, this is printed out and it looks great, except their logo is really fuzzy looking and or pixelated. Like you can see the squares, the actual little squares, instead of it looking nice and crisp and smooth. That is because that designer did not save the file correctly, and they probably used a wrong file type. They probably had a missing link. All these things, like, you just don't know. But, if the graphic designers were super good at what they did, they wouldn't necessarily need production designers. So sometimes you have graphic designers who know what they're doing and they can set up their files correctly and have it go out fine with where it needs to go. And then sometimes they have the final piece that looks beautiful, but if it were to print or if it were to go out into the digital sphere, it would not look as good as what they were intending it to look. And so they need people like me to fix it up and basically make it look pretty. That's why I tell people sometimes, like, hey, I can make your art look pretty, because that's what I do. I fix up the stuff using all kinds of technical knowledge and know-how. So without further ado, basically, I want to typeset the author's name on this. I put this specifically in Photoshop because Photoshop deals with the digital sphere a lot of the times, like, with pixels and with actual imagery, like a photograph. You're dealing with Photoshop with things like that. If I were to, okay, again, we're going back to like the business card example. If somebody's logo is on this business card, you're going to be dealing in a different program altogether that deals with vector artwork. Like for me, I would be dealing with Illustrator, Adobe Illustrator, because those are pieces of like artwork that's created with mathematical lines and like a point system, and it can scale to any size without losing image quality, basically. So for this, I drew this in an app that deals with pixels. So you have to be careful. You have to make sure you don't make this thing too small, because then when you zoom it way bigger than what it's intended to be, you start to see those pixels. See all these little squares? Those are pixels. But since I sized this canvas to be 1920 by 1080p, P stands for pixels, it should be fine for its final output, especially if the pixel count is 72, which it is, because that's how I built it. Right there. 72 resolution is fine for the digital sphere. If this were something that were to get printed, it would need to be, some people will say, oh, 300. That's kind of more, that's more for like smaller print items. With where I work, we can get away with 150. Either way, with what I'm doing right now, 72 is just fine. What I want to do actually is a tiny bit more editing. I would like this Reddy Fox to be a brighter red, I've decided. I think that would be quite nice. So I'm actually going to do a tiny bit more editing in here. I'm going to pick color range. I've already got the reds pretty good in here. You just kind of click around and add. I think I've pretty much got ready. Yep. And normally, like, to clean it up better, you could add these little missing pieces here, because this shows your selection. I kind of don't know if I want to bother doing that, though. Let me see if I can't just get it once more with my color range. That would be helpful if I could. Let me just see real quick. Yeah. I'm not really too bothered by that, because it's already got a little bit of a texture look in there too. I just want to see if I can add maybe let's do a curves. Pretty bright. What did it look like before? Let's see. I made it darker. Oh, wait a second. You turn that on so I can see what I'm doing. Kind of nice. Maybe. See what it looks like without it. Without, with. I just like that extra little brightness in there. So I'm going to leave it. Right? Do we like that? I'll leave it for now. Okay, the next thing I want to do, I want to add a typeface. So let's see here. Actually, kind of don't mind that one because look at how the R already looks like the R of Reddy Fox. First, I need the author's name. I want to make sure that I spell it correctly. I think he had 2 S's in his last name. Let's double check. W. Burgess. Yes. Okay. Go way into. Where's all my options at? Hold on. So that's the character. No. Let's just play real quick. More properties. There we go. This is what I was trying to find. I know that there's way more options in here. Okay. So, without further ado, I do not think I want anything with a serif. I'm pretty sure I want a sans serif. So this filters everything with no serif for me. Oh, I actually want to type out his name really quick. I forgot to do that here. Okay, so let's do, see what that looks like. Okay, so his name is Thornton W. Burgess. Hold on. There. Okay. Thornton W. Burgess. And I don't know if I want to have. Hold on. There we go. Okay. I want to see what it looks like. Just like that. Okay. Now, when you're setting type and you've got different styles going on here, you need to take into account, okay, do these other words have serifs? Do they have, I don't know, like, is there a variation in the letter itself? Like, does it go from thick to thin, or is it all the same weight throughout the letter? So I actually kind of, right here is pretty already working pretty decently, but I just happen to not like how these letters are working. Let me just go around a tiny bit. See, I don't think that that would be not showing. I need to actually have it highlighted. Yeah. Okay. I don't think that is as successful because just in my opinion, there doesn't seem to be anything going on with any of these letters that kind of resembles what's going on anywhere else. So, if that makes sense. I actually kind of liked that what it was on first. Let's see, this Filson Soft. Filson Soft. That's a little bit thin. Oh, yeah, no kidding. It actually is thin right here. Let's make it to, I bet you black is going to be too thick looking. Bad. Maybe let's space those out a little bit, perhaps. Oh, 200 is the max, huh? Woo. Yeah. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I like the typeface, but I just don't know about that application of it. Let's try something not as heavy. Bold? Let's do bold and then let's space it out. This and then maybe over here a bit. Okay. The reason why I'm putting it off over to the right, I mean, I could center it. But I actually kind of like the way it directs your eyes from corner to corner. You see the adventures of Reddy Fox and then down to the author's name. So that's why I'm placing it kind of down in that bottom corner right there. I don't know if I need it that far over though. Kind of like over here. I'm feeling that. Also, do I even want it to be this like dark red color? Do I want it to be slightly darker? We could do that. And this is just part of fiddling around with it to see how it looks. Let's do a little bit like that. It's kind of a similar look. See, visually, it's pretty close to like those letters right there. See the thickness of everything? Kind of matching that, and I kind of like that. Now, I'm wondering, we just play around a tiny bit more. I do like how it looks in all caps because you can see the letter R and it really looks similar to the style of this R here in Reddy Fox. Bless you. My husband sneezed. All right. I want to see it as that red again. Actually, I should just pick red up in here. There we go. I'd like that. Like that collar. Just a little bit lower. Down from the tree roots. Too big. Name is kind of big, isn't it? Make it a little smaller. Just a little bit. Have it unselected. There we go. I'm kind of liking how that looks actually. Although I wonder if I could adjust a little space up in there. let's see, what is that? Is that option? Yeah. So that's called kerning. You can adjust the space in between individual little letters with some keyboard shortcuts. So I'm bringing that little dot in closer because it seemed a little awkwardly far away to me. Yeah. I actually kind of like how that looks. Hmm. And I don't think I really want that after all. We'll keep it, but we'll just keep it turned off. I think I like the colors as they are. Looks a bit on the brown side. I wonder if I can make it more red? Hold on. See what that looks like. That's fun. A nice red. Okay, before, after, before, after. I mean, they both look kind of nice, so I think I just gotta pick one. I'm just gonna stick with this. I think this looks good. Okay. So now, as far as everything is here, I'm pretty good with how everything is. I'm gonna move this on over here, my properties, get it out of the way. Let me double check here real quick with my husband because he does a lot of video production stuff. Hey, babe. So, final piece, do you need it as a PNG for broadcast? This right here. As a PNG file? Yeah? Okay. So the final output I just confirmed needs to be a PNG file. Actually, what I'm going to do. Some people use JPEGs. I don't deal too much with digital, like creating files into the, how to rephrase this. Where I work, I deal with print production and actually printing out files. So I'm way more knowledgeable about dealing with those kind of pieces of artwork. Okay, so things that are going to get prepped for the digital sphere, I can figure it out by doing quick little searches or, you know, asking somebody just to double check. So you can use, you can use either a JPEG file or a PNG. I'm going to maybe try a JPEG. I might try both and then pull them back up and see which one has a better quality. You can always test stuff like that. But as far as file preparation goes, you always want to save like a final working file with editable layers, which are these things right here. These are all my layers that I can still go in and edit. And I want to keep this file. I don't want to delete it. Wow, my English tonight. It is end of the day, so I'm tired. So I'm going to save this as my final file. Now I'm going to flatten everything, flatten image, mostly because my file is going to be way too large if I keep all the layers, and I don't need the layers because I saved that as a separate file. So we're going to export this right here. We're going to do both PNG and a JPEG. Both of those are great for digital applications. If I were to print this, I would probably be saving it as a TIFF. See, export as. JPEG. Possible. See if that'll take. We're gonna name it. Let's see. Garden lettering. I just need it to go here. We're gonna make a new folder called production. Perfect. Okay. And then I'm going to export it again. As a PNG. Wait a second, I don't want to do it quite that way. Let me make sure. Where does PNG export? Here we go. Okay. I don't want to make it a smaller file. Let's do it like that. I think the PNG might be the better way to go. Typically, JPEGs are very lossy, which means that they don't keep a lot of the data in the file anymore. Just gonna compare. We're gonna pull them both into Photoshop actually. All right, my JPEG, here's my PNG. I want to kind of go in a little bit. So if you start to go way far in, you can start to see those pixels. Let's just put this at 100% is here. So let's do, ooh. Only just hit my camera. All right. Let's try 200%. 300. Okay, that's what it looks like at 400%. I want to see what this looks like at 400%. About the same. The quality is about the same. Everything is still going to be at a 72 resolution. They actually look both about the same as far as the quality goes. So now it's just going to end up being whichever file works better when it's being input into the software for our broadcast. That'll be the determining factor. Either the PNG or the JPEG, either one. Okay, so now we're all done with this project. Now I've typeset everything. Everything is all done and dandy. I don't know why happening. It's still acting like there's a selection. There's no selection though. There we go. Okay. Okay. Now this project is done. We're going to be, I'm not sure how exactly this will be used on that broadcast when I do the book reading. I don't know if it's just going to be there on the beginning. And then we'll like show the actual text of the book, or, you know, those kind of details are still going to get worked out. But I just wanted to do a quick little broadcast showing a little bit more behind the scenes of putting files together. And I don't know, just like a little bit of like the technical know-how that goes into, you know, we're not just slapping a typeface on here. There's a little bit more that needs to be taken into account. Like, are we building this with pixels? Are we building this with vector artwork? You know, it's not getting printed, so we're not doing vector artwork this time. But I like giving a little bit of explanations into, like, oh, this is why I'm deciding the things that I'm doing. Like, this is why I'm working on this project in this certain manner, because, not everybody knows all of the terminology and the just the inner workings of like a graphic designer's mindset or a print production artist, like what the setup looks like and everything that goes into creating an artwork before it gets produced into the final, wherever it's going to end up going. So I just wanted to, just hop on here and show a little bit more about like what's going on. I know I probably rambled a little bit, but you're going to get that with anybody who's talking about what they do. So I literally do this for my job, not specifically uh, digital stuff. For my job, I work on stuff that's getting printed and, put up in like hotels across the country, or sports stadiums, or I mean, like restaurants. I mean, I work on files and art pieces that get produced and physically like printed, or, cut out of wood, or printed on fabric, or printed as wall coverings. That's the kind of stuff that I work on for my job. So digital stuff, I'm not like, as when I keep saying digital, everything that I work on at work is digital. I mean, the final output is going to be digital. I don't work on elements for video production all the time, but I can create that kind of stuff because a graphic designer, they can wear a lot of hats. They can have a lot of different specialties. They can be like letterers, or they can be web designers. They can be, pre-press typesetters for books. There's just all types. There's all kinds out there. So it can be used as an umbrella term quite frequently. So anyways, I did a lot of rambling, but it's kind of fun talking about what I do. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here, and maybe perhaps I'll post a link for that book reading when I do it. And also, whenever I come up with my next project, just keep an eye out. I'll be posting about my next project here shortly once I figure it out. But y'all have a good night. See you later.